Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. Today is episode 319. And we are working on our big Thanksgiving week project of coloring these feathers using the 13 sets of pencils you see here. So left to right, I have, these two are reversed on accident. I have Prismacolor Holbein, the new Bruckfuner neons. They have never been used in a project yet. Arteza, Farben, Harmonious, Marie's, Erogiton, Artisto, Castle Arts Gold, Color in the Tube 120, Black Barrel, Barrel Prismas, and Bruckfuner Metallics. So here is a copy. I just have to put a kudos to my printer. It is a EcoTank Epson 2760, and it is fantastic. Here is what it looks like, and if I grab my book, which is right behind here, there is the copy, and there are the original. It's just amazing how nice this printer is. And I've had it for 3 years, and I've only had to fill in, I have the bottles, and I've only had to fill the black. I am still over 50% with all the color. Okay, so this is more of a prep than an actual coloring, but I will probably go ahead and have this episode be tacked to the front of the first coloring episode. The plan is that I color the feathers with all 13 sets, and I'm just going to crank through as many as I can, and I will try to be prepared ahead of time for enough sets that I won't have to stop mid-coloring. So here's my plan. I have one set. The smallest set is my Barrel Prismacolor. They are second to last. And I should probably talk a little bit about how I chose the 13 sets. I had 16 sets. Here's my master list. I had 16 sets to use. I immediately dropped off the Inktense and the Albrecht Dürer Wet. Didn't need to do those. I just used those in Magical Worlds. I also am in the middle of using the Black Widow 180s, so the Harmonious got to move up and take the place of that. The Bruckfuner flower boxes I'm in the middle of using right now, so I replaced those with the neons, moved the neons up. So next is my color palette. I would not mind if these feathers sort of look like these bird tones, but how I will know if that's even possible is by going through the Barrel Prismas, which I own, I think 46 or 48, and I believe that the only colors, or the only sets that will have other difficulties with trying to look somewhat like these birds, the neons will be problematic. There's 50 of those. The Harmonious is 72, and it has no warm tones. It is like the opposite of the neons. So those two feathers are probably going to look different, and I'm okay with that. So that's my strategy. I'm going to go away now. The intro is complete. I will get my color palette picked with the barrels and then start picking the palette. The other thing I need to do is the Holbeins. I bought 58 Holbeins, and you guys, I have been so swamped. I have not gone back and put them all in the case. So my 58 are just sitting actually in a tin. I had put them in a tin in rough color family order. So I will also be taking my new Holbeins. So I'm more than doubling my Holbein. So that is going to be a really fun little coloring project with those, since I have so slowly collected, starting with 14 of them, and now I have 90. So that's of the 150. All right, so off I go. You will see me next in a flash, ready to color. Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. Today we are embarking on coloring the feathers on the page after these two birds. I've already done my intro. I'm going to do just a little follow-up to that intro, and that is that I have not done any sample coloring on these feathers because it's more, I just want to color with these 13 pencils, log some notes about how they feel, talk to you about them. And I did choose colors that coordinate with these two lovely birds, but I'm not going to be pre-setting up what each of the feathers is going to look like. A lot of times I will pre-color. I did pre-color these birds. Yes, I did pre-color. So here is, if you want to see, here is my copy. I have 0 feathers colored. So here is the color palette. I took the color palette. I did not do a bunch of blends, so I have a maximum of 11 pencils so that my coloring goes quicker and then slower. And then we'll see how much you can see of my worksheet. We have the 13 sets actually ended up being one less set than I mentioned in the preview segment. And so we are going to start off today with the Prismas, the 150, which are the same numbers as the barrels. This set over here is what I started with because they're the ones I own the fewest of. And the color numbers, the names are a little different on one or two of them, but the colors are going to basically start and end identically today, not today, because I'm going to be coloring. I figure it's either going to be 3 or 4 days. I haven't decided. It really just depends on how quickly I go with coloring these feathers. So I've got some notes here. At the very bottom, I'm going to be taking some notes, and I did actually already log my thoughts on how the pencils felt being colored on copy paper. So okay is the lowest rating. Now keep in mind that I love all of my pencils, and I've used them all so much now that even if in the beginning I had some that I did not like as well, every pencil set I own, as I've learned about them and how they work, my like for them has improved. So I am no longer like a neutral party looking at any of these pencils for the first time, because I have rotated through all of these pencils. This is my 5th time through them in the Small Victories book. All right, so I am going to figure out how I want to have my page, and then I will rotate my camera around for the best view that I can come up with for you guys. I will start on the far left. I think I have him, and I actually would like to rotate so that you can see more of the feather. Let's see if I can get this. So I kind of like that view. You're nice and close. I can see it myself. Now we have a beautiful sunny day today. I even have my window open because I think it's in the low 70s. The first set we're going to play with is going to be the Prismacolor pencils. And I'm going to make sure I use all of the colors. I can tell that I do need to move this closer to me. There we go. Because I just bumped the camera. So it's been a long time since I have had an opportunity to color with a lot of sets of pencils. I think the last time I did this was when I did all of my sets. At the time, I think I owned 29 sets that I would say that I would use, and I had to grab the Crayolas. And it was that experience of coloring in this book with the Crayolas that actually I liked them well enough to promote them to part of my stable of regular pencils that I rotate through. So never say never if you have a set of pencils. So dark brown is what I am doing I don't know what you call this part of the feather, the stem of the feather. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. And then I have in my hand, I've set them all in the Lazy Susan. 3 sets per Lazy Susan. So I'm probably going to be grabbing, like, I just grabbed these 3. So I don't know if I'll color them together, make blends. I really just don't have a plan. I just want to talk about the pencils, my experience with them, and what I think of them, so that will help you guys with your coloring journey and what pencils you may or may not think about owning. So PC 942 is the yellow ochre, pale vermilion PC 921, and magenta PC 930. And so I'm just going to start coloring. So Prismacolors have been, they were sort of with the Crayolas initially in the doghouse. Didn't really like them. I come from the world of the oil pencils, hard, light layering, and not that I couldn't light layer with these, because I still color with these as if I'm a light layerist. As you can probably see, I am not cranking up the pressure at all. I already know all of the pluses and the minuses. Like, these blend fantastically. Without, you can do light layers, you can mush them, you can blend them every which way you want. So that is really lovely. My main issue with these pencils is that they are very messy and crumbly, and if you get little remnants on your page and you brush it accidentally, it will streak your page. It will rub off on the opposite page. And so from that perspective, I dislike that part of these pencils greatly. The quality issues that everybody talks about with these pencils, I do not actually have an issue with. I don't think so far. I own 1 full set. I started before I had the full set. I had a set of 36. I took that 36 with me to my mom's in August and used them quite extensively there. And I do not have those issues with these pencils, with the quality or the breakage. And it's just weird how some people have such a hard time with the breakage and other people don't. And I think it's, yes, probably a quality issue from the manufacturer. These pencils probably, now I'm in a very warm climate. I know that these are a very soft pencil, so perhaps the softness of them makes them brittle when it's cold and soft when it's warm, and I live in a warm climate, so these are always soft and buttery feeling to me. But I don't know if the climate can make a big difference. Very few of my pencils have crumbling or breaking when you sharpen them. I do use an older Jarlink pencil sharpener that could possibly be part of the difference with my lack of issues. I do have every type of pencil sharpener out there, including like the Doll 133, which is a crank sharpener, and a whole bunch of handhelds, and I actually haven't had any problems, even with the ultra cheap plastic ones that you get at the Dollar Tree in a multi-pack. Have not had issues. So here we are, and it's possible that I will do this particular blend somewhere. I think it's the only color range that is a like color combo. So I will try to replicate it on all of the sets that I do get to have these 3. And then there's a couple of sets. I have a neon set and the Harmonious Castle Art set that have their own color combos. I matched as best I could the colors. And I knew before I used them that they were going to have their differences. The reason why these 13 pencils sets got chosen was because they were the last on my rotation list. And I subbed out a few because I actually had 16 left. I removed the wet mediums. I have just used them. In fact, 3 of the sets I've just used or I am still using. And so I didn't feel the need to either take them away, certain pencils away from my Lazy Susans I already have filled up for these larger pages in the bigger books. So it made sense to not include them. Plus, I'm already using them and talking about them right now. Not necessarily comparing them, but I had to make a determination to only have 13. All right, so we are done with that blend. Fantastic. Everything about these pencils works very nicely. And I've kind of learned how to not even push the boundaries of the messiness. You'll notice I do light layering. And if I do light layering, I avoid the part of these pencils that I dislike. I'm going to grab the next 3 in my little rotation. These actually could make also a nice blend, so it's possible I see an area on this feather that I will try that. So I have Aquamarine, PC 905, Blue Copenhagen Blue, PC 906, and Violet PC 932. So we are just going to go ahead and move up to, I'm going to move a little tiny bit. So I am back to using my repaired new stand, which is wonderful. And then I've even kept the, what I call the snake, which is the top part of my old stand. The bottom part of it broke. It broke in a fantastic way. It was like pretty dramatic. I'm like, really? And so it actually is probably in the garbage now. I have it kind of over, needs to be collapsed a little bit because it's kind of big and cumbersome. And it lasted most of the time in the trailer. We even had it at one point hanging from the dining room ceiling. And that particular setup worked really well for 4 years for me. So I hope everybody has fun plans for this week being Thanksgiving week. And as the year winds down, I'm going to be doing some special video series like this, just to kind of keep things fun as we approach the end of the year. And then I'm probably going to do some different things next year, keeping things exciting for me and for you guys watching. So you can see that I am not using pressure. I would say I'm using light to medium pressure. I'm seeing some tooth. I'm letting there be some tooth so that I don't generate any crumbs that would then take up time to kind of manage and keep clean. So I have grown to appreciate these pencils for what they are. I've learned to work around their behavior that I am not fond of, and they do have a very vibrant output that I like very, very much. Who knows, perhaps these will eventually move up the rung on my list, which I am someday going to do an ordered list. And who knows, maybe they'll turn into a set of pencils that I love. I am not opposed to every set of my pencils moving up the chain to the I love them category. So that is a wonderful blend. Looking really good so far. I'm going to grab I have 2 greens and 3 browns. So these 2 greens I'm going to have some fun with. We've got apple green, 912, and olive green, 911. What's interesting about the colors, being that I started with the barrel Prismas, is that to me the olive green is quite dark and not as olivey as I would have thought. It kind of feels like this color here is more of a dark evergreen spruce, or it's not. I just did not think of this. If I go take a manzanita olive from my fridge, it is not this dark. I know a lot of the pencils evergreens are very blue-green, and like a shaded spruce is a very blue-green, but this is more like a Pacific Northwest evergreen green to me. So those are my two greens, and most of my sets have these tones, and I'm going to go ahead and repeat that a couple more times. I'm going to repeat it. Where these dots, I kind of like, there's dots, dots, and dots. And so that just tells me, let's be consistent. On the copy paper, when I did my matchups on the copy paper sheet, I did a copy paper grading. It was very simple. It was plus, and okay means it wasn't terrible. I don't expect any of my pencils to be minuses. Then one of them might surprise me. And then the most surprising one is there is a set that I gave it a plus plus, because they are, every time I use them on copy paper, I am completely surprised, pleasantly so, at how nice they are. Because on a very smooth paper, they are not as impressive at all. One last little area here. So the way I figure it, if I average 15 minutes per feather, and there's 13 sets of pencils, about 15 minutes a set would finish me up in about 4 episodes. And I'm going to just do those episodes. I won't be, I'm going to be for sure be doing family stuff on Thursday, maybe spend some time with my mom, helping her get organized. This week, final push, and just not have the stress of, even though I'm supposed to be coloring to relax, but it has been hard to make sure I get my coloring time in. So there's the greens, absolutely fantastic. And I would not call these a beginner pencil by any means. What have I got? So there's the blue. I'm grabbing the 3 browns. They're not necessarily light, medium, dark, however. In fact, I would call the set of 11 colors that I picked kind of all jewel tone. All like a deep, vibrant tone. So it's going to be fun to attempt to do some special color combos and blends that aren't your typical light, medium, dark. So here's the 3 browns. We've got light umber 941, terracotta 944, and dark brown 946. And I am just going to go ahead and pop in these colors. I have not sharpened all of the pencils. I can see that this one is definitely not sharpened. So one of the fun tricks that you can do with these little pattern-filled spaces is just don't follow each little tiny shape. Color in a whole area as if it was a bigger space, and let the little lines be just a point of interest. You don't have to look at every single little shape. Don't forget to leave some white. I left white here so that I could give the curve. White, the art classes that I took when I was young in college, lights advance, darks recede. So I always chant that to myself when I'm working on perspective and angles and trying to add a 3D effect to something that's just a flat piece of paper. We don't know what we're going to do with these little ovals yet. But again, I don't want to overthink it. I don't have gray, and I don't have black, and there is no white. Literally, a whole 11 jewel tones. I've had a couple of sets so far that when I tried to do the color match, it was more difficult. I will say, my window is open. It is like 74 degrees out there and fantastic. And I am back here in the recliner on the trail, which means I hear everybody walking by in the golf carts. People stop and talk. And so if we hear some noise, it is most likely going to be the trail making noise. I toyed with allowing white and black, and I thought, I just want to keep this really simple. There's nothing, I don't have to make these perfect. There's no rule saying that it has to have the lights and the darks and all the burnishing, although these are burnishing very nicely as they do. I am almost done. I'm going to set these 3 down, and I'm going to grab, I have this yellow that I would call it more like a curry, tone. Here it is right here. And I'm going to pop it. See, I want to have the kind of the gold look on these brown feathers and get a little bit of the gold up here on the tip. And then what do I want to do? I have these ovals. That is what is left. Oh, I know what else I wanted to do. This area right in here. I probably should lighten up my... I can't actually see the screen. I have a reflection. Could have sharpened this. All right, I am going to add a little more snippet of color. In that triangle. Here comes a nice noisy vehicle. A gas-powered cart. And now I want to grab my green, blue, purple. And the green is actually a turquoise color. We're going to do turquoise through the middle. Probably could have just left these one color. But that was just not going to be fun. Yep, these are working very well. They even hold a point pretty well for how I use them. I could see if you were a heavy-handed person that you might smush the tip down and have it be difficult to get into small spaces. But I feel if you're willing to spend a little extra time and build your layers up, you can keep the tips pretty sharp. And if I'm going through doing my thoughts on these pencils, I would love to hear from you guys and get your thoughts if you have the various sets or whichever sets you have. What are your favorites? What have you not had good luck with? Whatever you want to share. Now I'm going in for like a final heavy pressure layer. And then we will move on to set number 2. Set number 2 for me is Holbein. I've already said that I managed over this whole year. I believe I started out in January purchasing 14 of them. I have managed to get pretty good deals. Each time I have purchased them from 4 different sources. I think so the first purchase, Plaza Art, I had a coupon, an introductory coupon, so I'm going to just leave that. This is a little rough right here. I could go ahead and fill that in. There. Lovely pencils. Definitely have grown to appreciate them. You can buy them individually. You can buy them in any number of sets. Walmart has them. They're probably the most popular overall pencil in the world, and easy access. And I think you can buy them at the big box stores as individuals to replenish your stock for a little over $1 a pencil. There you go. That feather is done. I will, of course, have the colors all in the description for each of the sets that I use for each episode. And I'm trying to get these up. I don't want to leave them down. There we go. All right, number 2, Holbein. As I said, I think I made 4 purchases throughout the year. Started out with 15, went to 34. We're going to use this big long feather as the second one, and we've got lots of equal-sized chunks. I'm going to start with any old chunk using the same 3 colors. I'll probably follow a somewhat similar routine just to keep the time efficient. Yellow ochre 153, vermilion 046, Bordeaux red 469. So these I've used very little as like in a whole, but I have done projects in Small Victories starting with my set of 15, maybe even 14. And then I had like a coupon from Plaza Art the first time. It was like a first time purchasing coupon, and it was a flat discount. I have a minimum from that store. You have to buy a minimum amount, and it did not, when I got the coupon, I can't remember if it was $15 off, some sort of a discount. It did not change the threshold when I got the coupon so that I had to buy more, which was lovely. So that is a tip for Plaza Art specifically, which is US based, although they might ship worldwide, and it might not be all that bad. Then I bought from Jackson's one time, might have been the second time, and then I ended up with 35. At that point, they were in a 50 slot light pink case. And then the third order that I placed was also Plaza Art. They had a sale. They actually dropped the price of these. I think they're normally $4.25, $4.20, something like that. And I ended up, they were the only place that had them at this. They popped up because I always check for Holbein. I check used lots. I check all the stores using Google, and they popped up at $3 something per pencil. And I don't have all my paperwork by, so this is just kind of filling time. And so These feel a little drier than the Prismas, which I just used. They feel a lot more like a Derwent Lightfast. Derwent Lightfast has this a little bit stickier silk feeling. So it's like definitely when people say it's a hybrid between a poly and a Prismacolor, I absolutely agree with that assessment. So as I was going along and I had ordered the 50, I had my single swatch sheet and my 50 case was full. And I always look in Google and up pops this listing at a place called Poshmark. I was sort of, many months had gone by and I was sort of back to looking and wanting to figure out a way to extend my collection beyond 50 and, how would that look? And I own the Brutfuner, which are a known sort of a knockoff of the exact 50 pastels from this set. So I was thinking if there was a way that I could avoid the pastels as much as possible, I could go ahead and get another chunk. If I can find a good deal, maybe I can find a lot. Poshmark pops up. I've never shopped at Poshmark. It's actually a clothing, a used clothing setup. I would like this to be a little bit lighter, so I'm gonna go back here. Pardon my fussing. Here we go. So the problem when I go lighter like this is sometimes the lighting will change and it'll become too light. But I like that I can actually see better. All right, so these actually are working just like the Prismas where I see a little tooth. I'm using light to medium pressure, so my first layer goes down nice. However, the feeling isn't buttery smooth. It's sort of more of a silky smooth than buttery smooth. And I think I will have another blend. I'm going to go up one more chunk. So this Poshmark listing, you cannot communicate directly with the seller at all. And I thought it was kind of a fun idea to see how this worked. So I left a comment for everyone to see that said, hey, do you have a list of the color numbers? So the lady responded immediately. She has a bunch of listings. She probably picked these up somewhere. I don't think they were her. Even by her description, I could tell she is not a colorist. She just buys up people's collections of stuff and lists them all. And she lists them very high. These were initially listed at retail price, but I wasn't letting that deter me. They were at list price, and then there was like a slash, and they were heavily discounted. Too almost interesting to me, if the colors were right. And this is still a recollection, not accurate, because I don't have my notes. I believe she had them at like 4 something a pencil, then down to, 2 something a pencil, 280. And she gets the list, but it's late at night. I'm on the East Coast. I don't see the list of numbers till the next day. In the midst of that, she sends me an offer of $95 for 58 pencils. That's under $2 a pencil. It was like, wow. So I need to make this work as long as I can justify the 58 different colors. So what I did, I had some duplicates, of course. I had some pastels in there, of course. But I do like the idea of having very small sets of the expensive pencils for my coloring group to play with, where I don't feel stressed. If they want to ruin them because they don't know what they're doing, I would much rather them ruin a special subset. And I think I had 17 extras. And then like I said, some of the pastels that match the brute funer. So that was nice. I'm going to say they're not quite as fast to use as the Prismacolors. But neither are the polys. The polys are not a speedy pencil, and I'm not a speedy colorist. I don't even feel like I need to go fast. That's not my thing. I color to relax and have fun. So we're going to now do purple, the purple, blue, green color combo. Peacock green, 248. There wasn't a teal that was as light as the teal you'll find peacock green. It's a little bit greener and a little bit darker. But again, I only own 90. And it's really 89 individual colors. One is a crimson I now have 3 of, which I do not need. Royal blue, 348, and violet, 441. So I'll do this a couple of little segments here on this feather. So I missed the chance. The offer she gave for $95 was free shipping. I thought it was a really, really good deal. I felt bad that I didn't notice it, but of course I'm not a Poshmark shopper, so I didn't even know how the communication worked. So I actually placed my own offer back to her for that same price with me paying shipping, because it was really that good of a price. And by the way, none of these pencils were used. I have seen a lot of eBay lots with these, like a full set of these, and they always go for over 200, but they're very well, certain colors, very, very well used. So the fact that these were virtually brand new, I think only 3 of them looked like they'd even been sharpened. So it was really a great deal. It did happen in the midst of dealing with my mom moving here. So I feel bad that since I've had them, I haven't even been able to finish getting them put into their own case. And I spent a little time getting them all put in and then separating out the brute funer macarons and put those away back in their own case. So I think in the end of the day, minus the metallics and the neons, I've already loaded up on Blick, just for fun, the 27 remaining pencils that I need to complete the set enough for what I would ever need. I'm kind of liking this little whoop-de-doo that I left, so I'm going to leave it that way. I really like to leave a little bit of white here and there, just for interest's sake. These feel like polychromos. They are a slightly larger barrel. If I wasn't wanting to be really efficient with my time, I would have my calipers out so I could do some measurements. But I think I still just want to focus on the coloring aspect and not want to spend a lot of time with this being a review. These are very vibrant. I understand that they are a mix between an oil and a wax, and that they use animal fat as part of their formula. Very nice. I'm going to add another chunk of this. I haven't done an inverted version, so let's start with the light in the center. Merging into blue. I do need to keep track of time, don't I? Let's see, how are we doing? This has got to be cut short now-ish. because I forget I have an intro. I think I'm at 42 minutes, so it's actually at 47 minutes. So I am going to go ahead and stop at 2 feathers, but I will regain some time back because I won't be doing an intro. I will just go right on to the next set for episode 21. And let's do one more fun. I've got the regular greens and I got the browns. So like I said, I have 13 sets of pencils, so that's about, if I can keep my time, and some of these feathers are way smaller than the others, those will go faster. And then a couple of the sets are oddball sets and won't have all of these particular color combos. My notes on the copy paper, these went pretty good. These were a plus. We're going to have, our weather's going to warm back up this week and be back into the 80s. Will admit, I am a warm weather person. That is why I moved here, and I do not like when it's 40 degrees out. Do not like that cold of weather at all. I'm going to go ahead and make this tip be these beautiful colors. I have a whiny bird right outside. If you watch my videos, you will hear me chatting about the bird feeder that we have put up and the fact that the birds are finally here. And we have a pair of doves that wander around. They're like ground doves. And they wander around on the ground and pick up the seeds. They don't fly up to the bird feeder up high. They stay below it and pick up the pickings, kind of like the squirrels do. It's kind of funny. All right, we're going to move on to green and then brown. And so this first episode is only going to be 2 sets and it's going to go long. We will see how this all goes. Oh, is this not my green? This is the peacock green. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong green. Here we go. We have the apple green, which is evergreen. And then moss green is the darker green. And then this is going to actually be a little too dark on the one side, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to do both of these chunks in the greens. So I wish that I had a darker olive green. Moss is not quite dark enough, but being that I don't have the full set, I did not have all of my options. I feel like I need to grab that peacock blue and balance this out on this side. There we go. That's not a terrible color combo. I notice as I color more and more, I have learned so much, you guys. I cannot stress enough
the importance, if you're really wanting to learn to color, you see people creating these just fantastic designs. All I can say is the more you color, the more you will learn, the more you will spend time out on the YouTube looking for colorists that color in a style that you would love to learn, and then you will watch their videos. I am such a YouTube coloring watcher. I absolutely love to watch people color and glean and get little tips and learn what sets of pencils they like. The more you are involved, I promise you, the better you will get. That's kind of a fun little effect with those lines. I am going to go ahead as we narrow down here. I'm going to grab the 3 browns. The 3 browns are Raw Umber 184, Mahogany 93, and Burnt Umber 180. Looking at the ease of organization, these pencils are already in a family order by the number. The number doesn't like start at 1 and go to 150, but it is an absolute easy order to pick out, and it is easy to put your pencils away. When I created, when I had, 15, then 34, and 50, it wasn't as apparent. But then when I did the full sheet for the index, putting them back in the book, and I noticed that the numbers all are in sequential order. I do think it starts at 1, though. But they jump in increments. So these are blending, even though these 3 colors aren't a blending set of colors, they still are going together nicely. I'm doing small ovals here to get them to kind of transition between each other in an attractive way. I would say they're even a little bit on the oily looking side up close. They are not messy, they don't crumble. I like the organization of them in the binder, or the book, which I now have a full book that will hold all 150 of them. Every single set of pencils I have done some pre-sharpening on, and these all sharpen nicely. Prismas sharpen nicely. These are very easy to read, very simple. It is gold. I would prefer a non-metallic, but all of the fancy pencils have metallic. I don't think that there's a way. Luminance does not. They are white. They have their new portrait set that came out with white. I really like that, even if the font has a really skinny stroke. All right, I am going to call this feather done. I think for the most part it is done. And we are going to conclude this episode, starting back up tomorrow with episode 221. I do see a few crumbs. I do have my brush here. There we go. So do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, consider subscribing. Again, throw those comments at me. What pencils are you liking? What is your experience with them as I go through them? And it looks like tomorrow we are going to start our day with the Brutfuner Neons, which I have never used yet, short of doing some quick swatches. So I hope you will join me tomorrow. I will see you there.